So I think we're trying to still get online, so give it just a minute. But thank you so much for being here. Shh, I know. Perfect. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Flores. I will be your service leader today. Welcome to UUUF, University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Today is December 17th. So I welcome everyone to join us in this shared sacred space, and also I would like to remind you this is a great time to silence your devices if you have them. I would also like to remind everyone that this is cold, flu, and COVID season, so please stay home if you're not feeling well, and join us online or watch us on YouTube. And also remember the emergency exits. There's one back here by the sliding door, out at the end of the building this way, and obviously we have the entrance where we came in. So I want to thank everyone for working together to keep us all healthy and safe. With that, we have our committee moments. So I would like to invite people up to share committee moments. Go ahead.
Hi, it's Lori. I'm wearing two hats. The first question is, did anyone try to call in?
I don't think your mic is on yet. Can you guys hear?
1, 2, 3.
There we go.
Did anyone try to call into the bylaws meeting on Tuesday?
Melanie and I were there.
Well, the two of you know it, so I'm not feeling quite so guilty. I was involved in making Christmas gifts, and I lost track of time. So if you have any questions, just please contact me at Secretary UUU, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. I think we answered most of them, and we've had some very minor improvements from the meeting after church last week. The other thing is to remind you that I'm going to be gone for the next couple of weeks. So Lindsay has generously offered to run the coffee service for that period of time. I'm still looking for coffee servers for the 7th and the week after that. Xander is thinking about it, but he's not committed yet. So if you're thinking about doing it, please contact Lindsay so that we can get you on the roster. Thank you.
I'm Ann Packham. I'm here on behalf of Facilities Committee. So we have a plan to get the carpeting replaced. We have our ad hoc carpeting committee who has chosen great options. And so Derek wanted me to tell everybody that so we, the collective we, need to move the furniture out of this space for half of it to get done and then move everything. So it's going to be a big heavy lift. So the week, starting after service on the 22nd, that's Sunday, for any volunteers. January. Yeah, not December. Yeah, sorry. That's like this week. No, January, sorry. So after service on Sunday, if anybody can stay and help, and then other volunteers who might be able to come during the week to help. I think the idea is to get as much done on that Sunday, Monday, so they can actually start putting the carpeting on that week, and it can be done and not disrupt any of the services on the weekend. So keep that in mind.
Hi, Melanie. Just another reminder that we are still collecting for the staff bonuses in the bag here. We accept cash, checks. If you write a check, please put in the memo line staff bonuses so we can apply it correctly. And also Vanco, there is an option for staff bonuses listed there. Thank you.
Hello, Martha here on behalf of the Ministerial Transition Team. We will be meeting tomorrow night via Zoom. For all of you that are members of that committee, you should know who you are. If not, you will get a reminder email later today. So we'll look forward to seeing you. I believe it's at 7 tomorrow night. There'll be a Zoom link in the reminder.
Thank you. So I wanted to just give you guys a little bit more information on the winter solstice campout that's coming out. Well, one, it's going to be really, really cool. Two, we will be having a meal to eat. There's two possibilities. One, enough people volunteer to bring food that we end up just having a potluck. Two, not enough people volunteer to bring food, and we order food, which will probably be pizza. So know that those are the two options. If you want to go ahead and let me know about any dietary restrictions. We will definitely have vegetarian stuff, but if you have any like allergies or other things, please let me know so that we can make sure that we do have enough food for you and you're not stuck going, I guess I'm going to have this apple or something because we didn't get anything that you were able to eat. So, yes. So it's going to be really fun. We're going to have music. We're going to have wishes for the New Year ritual. We're going to have a campfire, provided that it doesn't rain. I'm really hoping it doesn't rain. There's indoor and outdoor camping spots, so even if you're not a big outdoor camper, you can still come and have fun. It's going to be really great, so I hope to see you there. Oh, yes? What time will dinner be? Everyone's arriving at 5, and it provided that everyone's staff will do it. Essentially, dinner will be as soon as everyone arrives and we order the food and it comes. So probably around 6. Yes.
Some people work until 5, that whole 9 to 5 thing.
It's okay if you come like a little late. The 5 is that way people know you can. Don't come any earlier than like 5 or like 5 to 5 because we'll still be setting up. Things will be setting up around 5. If you have to come later, it is fine. That's just so that we have setting up time before the sun sets because it's not as much fun setting up after the sun sets. So thank you for allowing me to clarify that because I didn't and I should have. Thank you. So yes, if you have to come a little later, let me know so that we can make sure that we don't like eat all the food and leave you hungry. But other than that, feel free to come when it's convenient for you because we will be here all night. So, yes.
Can we come hang out for the evening and then?
Yes, you can come out, hang out for the evening, and then not camp out if you'd like. That's fine too. We do understand that we have really comfy beds at home, and sometimes the draw of that is a little bit more than the draw of sleeping in a sleeping bag on the ground. Oh, yes. No, so it is an intergenerational event where families will be camping together and have control of their own kids. No dropping your kids off and then leaving. Thank you for allowing me to clarify that. Any other questions? Okay, we're good. Hope to see you there. Happy winter solstice time.
I also just want to highlight that next Sunday, we have Christmas morning service, or Christmas Eve. We have our normal morning service. We also have one in the evening at 6 p.m. That's a little out of the norm. Even though it's there on the board, I just wanted to highlight that. And then for women's group, we're doing vision boards again this January, first Friday of the month. Feel free to come out. We'll be providing supplies. There's more info about that in the newsletter. Awesome. So, this morning's opening words come from, we have another announcement. David Roth will be doing live music concert on Sunday, January 14th. I assume there's also info about that in the newsletter and on Facebook as well. So this morning's opening words come from Dana Reeve, who was an actress, singer, disability activist, and the wife of Christopher Reeve, aka Superman. Be brave, be open-minded, be kind, be forgiving, be generous, be optimistic, be grateful for the many unexpected lessons you will learn, and find joy inside the hardship. It's there, I assure you. And 2, be open to inspiration from unlikely sources. These words remind me of our principle to responsibly search for meaning and truth, which I believe today's topic also relates to. So we have opening music, which is Imagine, and we have Mallory Rogers on piano, Larry on guitar, and I will be singing. say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Please join me in this chalice lighting. Oh, sorry. Today's chalice lighter is Addie. Her pronouns are she, her. She is 4 years old, and today she is very happy that she got a new jacket. Now, if you will, join me in saying the lighting of the chalice. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And also join me in saying the words for our affirmation of our church. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. At this time, I would like to welcome new visitors and also say hello to everyone. Maybe say hello to each other. Say hello to the people joining us online. Hello. Our speakers and topics vary weekly. We have a part-time minister, and we also have people come in from the community and even from our own congregation with different topics. So if this is your first time here, or one of your first times here, I definitely encourage you to come back and join us, as it's frequently it's a different experience. This congregation is a great place to put down roots and spread your wings. We're a group with shared values and principles and diverse beliefs. Next are joys and concerns, and this is an opportunity for anybody to come up and share their joys and concerns. We find that our joys are expanded when we share them with others in our community, and our concerns and burdens can be lightened by sharing them. So I'll welcome you to come up and share. Please keep in mind, this is live streamed and available on YouTube, so if there's something you don't want shared with the world, share it separately with someone afterwards.
Last night we went to the one-man Christmas Carol, and it was fun, and there was a character named Tiny Tim. Also, my birthday's on Thursday.
Hi, Caitlin McElroy. I've got an interview coming up I'm really excited about. It's actually with the Unitarian Universalist Association with the Social Action Committee. So if everybody can just keep me in your thoughts. Got a couple other jobs floating around. You know how the whole job application process works. It comes and goes, and when it rains, it pours. So I'm hoping for some good luck. Thanks.
Hello, I have joys that I'm in my 26th year of the One-Man Christmas Carol. Caitlin, who was just up here, is running the sound. Chloe is directing, so it's kind of a family thing, and Marilyn's telling me what to do as usual. So anyway, the last performance is today at 5 o'clock at Imagine Studio, Performing Arts. I never can remember exactly. Imagine Performing Arts Place. Center, thank you. In Oviedo, and love for you to come if you can. Those that have come, thank you so much, and Merry Christmas.
My joy was I play outside.
I have a joy that I'm starting a new book that I'm writing, and I just finished chapter 1.
My joy is I got a new jacket.
Hi. So I'm Crystal, and just over 2 years ago, I stood up in front of this congregation and said, I got accepted into my master's program. No idea what I was doing. Yesterday, I walked, and I am now hooded and mastered. Yay!
Congratulations, Crystal. That's so awesome. My joy is that our son Jay is home from college.
Hi, Larry here. My joy is my wonderful wife, Jill, who always helps me with this music. Every day. It's just, without her, this wouldn't happen.
Very good, very good, very good. So this is a thank you and also a joy. How many of you were out last Sunday and sang in Judy's memory home? Raise your hands, please. You are the ones I need to thank. Yes, very much from the home. Judy, as many of you know, my wife is in a memory home, along with other people in a residence. And the people whose hands went up, part of our choir, came in, sang Christmas carols. And you may also know that with dementia, music plays a miracle part. Many of these people, including Judy, can no longer speak, but they wave to the music, mouth the words, and that truly is a miracle. So I thank you all for doing that. Second year you've done it.
It won't be the last. Yeah, watch this carpet. It will be gone soon. My joy, I have two. My name's Martha. I've been back on the road for a week with no incidents, so I had to not drive, for 6 months. Those last 4 days were the hardest. I'm like, God, it's only 4 days. Why don't I just go now? But I made it the whole way, so that's good. My other joy is my daughter is currently on a plane. She's left Dublin, and I'm picking her up at 6:20. So I'm very excited. I don't think she'll make it here, except maybe to winter solstice, because we won't be here next Sunday, and then she flies home on the 30th, but it'll be fun. Yeah.
My name's Michelle, and I have a joy. I got to go on a cruise with my kids, and my son brought his partner, my youngest brought their best friend, my partner went with us. It was a big thing for a 4-day cruise, and it was absolutely amazing, which was why we weren't here last week. But it was so fantastic and heartwarming. So it's weird that I don't have Christmas plans set, but that kind of was our big thing. So anyways, yeah. Now, I would like to welcome up James for Time for Our Allegiance. He was already walking. Get it.
I'm just so excited and eager. Is this on? It feels less loud than last time. Okay. Yay. So hello everyone. As you might know, winter solstice is coming up soon. We're having a whole camp out about it. And so today I wanted to share with you guys an ancient Jewish legend about the first winter solstice. Now, as the story goes, way, way, way back, thousands of years ago, there were only two people on Earth, Adam and Eve. And the Earth was brand new, and they were brand new to it, as in, like, they were only a few months old. So, but they were, like, full grown. It's a whole thing. But they were born in the autumn. And if you guys know, the autumn is around where the autumn equinox is, where days and nights are the same length. So when they first arrived on the earth, days and nights were the same length. But after a little while, they started noticing that every night, the night seemed just a little bit longer than the night before, and the day just a little bit shorter. And as each day went by, this got more and more the case. And eventually, they started worrying, is this just going to keep happening forever until there is no more day? The sun doesn't rise again? The dark comes and swallows the whole world, and we will never see a sunrise or dance in the bright sunlight or have a wonderful day seeing. There were no electric lights back then, so the sun was especially important because you couldn't see very much of anything. The full moon was the brightest it was going to get if there was no sun. So they started getting very scared. They got so scared that they started thinking, what can I do to make sure this doesn't happen? And they were only a few months old, so they were thinking, okay, well, maybe if I go ahead and plead really hard, maybe if I go ahead and show that I'm sorry, maybe I did something wrong. And so they said they were sorry, and they went ahead and started eating less, and were getting kind of depressed. And this is very scary, as you can imagine. They've never seen it. It seems like darkness is going to last forever. And they were very scared. But then, the winter solstice came. The night was very, very long. But the sun rose, and what happened the next night? The night was a little shorter, and the night after that, a little shorter, and there was more and more sunlight every day, and they realized the world isn't going to be eaten up by darkness. This is amazing. It's just apparently some weird thing the sun does where the days are different lengths. This is so cool. And so instead of going ahead and not eating and feeling depressed and going ahead and saying they're sorry for whatever that might have been causing the sun to disappear, they started celebrating, and they feasted, and they danced, and they sung, and they had a great time. And they learned that this, in fact, is the way of the world. The world's a little weird, but it can be cool. And every year from then on, they celebrated around the winter solstice because it was such a wonderful feeling knowing that the sun was coming back. And the first time this is written down, this was during ancient Roman times, and so the rabbis who wrote this down said, and this is why the Romans celebrate Saturnalia, because if you've ever heard about Saturnalia, it was a raucous celebration. And so they were figuring, this must be why. It makes sense, because the first winter solstice must have been very scary, and then you just want to celebrate. So everyone, when the winter solstice comes, remember and celebrate.
I really enjoyed that. So now is our interlude and offering. Lindsay will be singing and I believe wrote the lyrics for Bethlehem 2023 while Larry plays on the guitar. And the children will be passing the baskets. I think they're working on it. Yeah, here we go. We got baskets in the back. Woo!
In the town of Bethlehem, which is located about 6.5 miles south of Jerusalem, in the occupied West Bank of Palestine, is the little town of Bethlehem. And it has about 25,000 residents. They are mostly Palestinian Muslim and Palestinian Christians. Their biggest industry is tourism, and every year they welcome pilgrims who come to celebrate Christmas. But this year, the Christian authorities have decided, in solidarity and mourning for the war, to cancel all the Christmas celebrations. When I heard about that, I wrote the words to this song. Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still you are today. The Christmas trees and sparkling lights have all been put away. It is a time of mourning and solidarity with all who suffer in this war. So no festivity. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, a messenger of peace. He preached of love and tenderness, hatred and war must cease. Be humble and forgiving, be kind and generous too. To Bethlehem and all the world, we send our prayer to you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to sing our children out as they go hang out in the RE and learn some stuff. We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. With that, I would love to introduce today's speaker, Jim Coffin. He's the retired executive director of the Interfaith Council of Central Florida, where he was there for 11 years. He grew up on a farm in Missouri, earned a degree in theology at Newbold College in England. He worked in Australia for 10 years and the U.S. for 26 years or more. Both as a congregational pastor and as a religious magazine editor. Over the last 25 years, he's had some 75 opinion pieces printed in the Orlando Sentinel. He and his wife, Leonie, have 3 adult sons, 2 daughter-in-laws, and now 2 grandchildren. So I'd love to welcome you up.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's also a little bit intimidating, to come here. You've always been a very gracious and hospitable audience, but I'm used to preaching, where the boundaries are this wide. Okay, and when I come here, the boundaries are this wide, and so it's not too, there's not too much room between the narrow boundaries that I'm used to, whereas when I come here, I can't presuppose, oh, well, they will agree with me about this, or they will agree with me about this, because there may not be that disagreement, that agreement. And yet I particularly like your little slogan here of diverse beliefs, shared values, and one community. And I think that's a really, really great motto. It's a great goal to live by, if you can do that. And I enjoyed my work with the Interfaith Council for 11 years and as a volunteer for several years before that. And I often joke with various Unitarians that I interact with that actually you're an interfaith group on your own. It's, so it's always a pleasure to be here. And I feel welcome coming here because you say that you, as sources of knowledge and information, you are willing to listen to Christians and Jews as long as, and I think that's really, really smart, actually, that you put some limits on it. You know, you're not willing to listen to just anything that Christians or Jews might have to say. Okay, so there are some limits on it, and that is that that they're calling you to respond to God's love and to love your neighbors as yourself. And so I think that makes great sense. You know, in other words, it has to be something that's going to make an impact on life and make a difference. And when I've spoken to you before, I've always tried to emphasize the idea that I'm not telling you how you should do it, but I speak as a Christian, and therefore, you know, that's the tradition that I come from, that's the way I view things. But I'm describing this to you as, you know, here's my belief and my system of thought, and it might be worth kind of rummaging through to see if you can find anything that would be of interest or anything that might be beneficial, and definitely brush aside anything that isn't. Now, I was all set up today to talk about war, and well, it kind of came about this way, that I'd earlier been given an earlier date, and so I said, well, why don't I talk about war and war's morality or lack thereof, and that seemed good at the time. And then Martha said, you know, we'd like to move you to a little closer to Christmas, and I'm not sure that war would really be the topic to talk about at that time, so she said, could you switch it to Christmas? And I said, okay, I will do that. And so I am going to talk about Christmas, and I'm going to kind of just talk in a stream of consciousness. It's not this super organized sermon that I'm going to present to you, but just a kind of letting my mind ramble a little bit about Christmas. In my work with the Interfaith Council, I used to, every semester, go to Seminole State College, and there was a teacher there, a Muslim teacher actually, who would invite me to line up some representatives of different faith traditions just to come and tell the students how we saw life. And the idea was, this was a business class actually, he wanted people to, his students, to get the idea that we do see things differently, and all of us have something to contribute to the other. And so he wanted the students to get the feel for this, and you know, he said, as a business person, you're going to be interacting with the whole spread of society, the whole spectrum. And if you can get a little more understanding of how the whole of society views things, and they'll view it in different ways, you know, this will be to your advantage. So we played some games, and it was really quite fun, the things that he would have us do. And typically I would take a Christian, and I enjoyed it so much that I'd put myself in that slot. And then I would have a Jew, and I would have a Muslim, and usually an atheist. And we would kind of exchange ideas, but occasionally we'd bring in a Buddhist, or we'd bring in a Baha'i or something, some other group. Well, one of the things he made us do was we had to tell in 30 seconds or less what our religion was all about. Now, I think you would do pretty well, because I think you've got it in 6 words. You know, you'd say, why would I waste 30 seconds? You know, you don't need to do that. But this was this elevator speech that we'd have to give and try to sum up. And, you know, when you've got all the holy scriptures that you have, you know, pretty lengthy, it goes quite a distance, and you have all the commentary on the holy scriptures that have been written. You know, it's like, how do I get this elevator speech down to 30 seconds to say what my religion is all about? And I'm certain of this, that if you ask some other Christian to do it, they would do it differently than I would. And they would be right. And I think I'm right. And, you know, all of these would be right, but they're only right in a narrow slice, you know. So I'm going to share my narrow slice with you, and I don't memorize this because I don't want it to sound canned or, you know, that kind of thing. But my elevator speech about Christianity, and this does tie into Christmas actually, is that God was the creator, God was loving, God wanted everything to function in harmony. And along the line, alienation came in. Alienation with God, alienation with each other, alienation with nature around us. And the whole of Christianity is to try to bridge the gap that this alienation has created. That's it. Okay, and that might not be the way somebody else would summarize it, but that's how I see it. And I see Christmas fitting into this in a very real sense. When I was the pastor at Markham Woods Seventh-day Adventist Church, I was there for 20 years, we wrote a mission statement, and we kind of picked up on that, and actually, unwittingly, we kind of picked up on your 7 principles, at least some of them, and we picked up other things as well. And we said that the mission of the Markham Woods Church of Seventh-day Adventists was to bring the healing power of Jesus Christ to broken relationships. This is alienation thing. And there are a lot of directions that the relationships are broken. It was to bring the healing power of Jesus Christ to broken relationships with God, with family, with others, with the church, and with nature. And, right across the board, and we probably could add a long list there of broken relationships. We're even in a broken relationship with ourselves very often, because we kind of tend to do things that are counterproductive to us, and yet we keep doing them, and we even know that we're doing them, and yet we keep doing them, and so that's the challenge that we face. And so I think of Christmas as being kind of a major point about the war against the broken relationship. I'm not into the war on Christmas. I don't think there is such a thing. I don't know any person who has ever been prevented from saying Merry Christmas on their own time. Now, if they were working for somebody else or they're in some context, they might be asked to say certain things in certain ways. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no war on Christmas. But that's not what I was here to talk about. But I am here to talk about the idea of broken relationships and how Christmas, to my way of thinking, is about the alienation that exists and the broken relationships. I had the experience once of working with a man and his son, working for them, I should say, working on their behalf. A man and his son who were terribly alienated from each other. And they were from a very different culture, immigrants to this country from a very different culture. And it's tough for adults to relate to their kids at the best of times because the kids grow up in a different generation. The life isn't the same for them as it was for their parents, even though parents, would like to kind of operate on the assumption that it is. It really is very different. They're in a different world. And if you add to that the idea of coming from a foreign background, where, that's kind of like multiplying it by 10. And so this father and his son were extremely alienated from each other. And they were from a very patriarchal society where, the man's word was final, whether it was in relationship to the female or whether it was in relationship to the children. And so I visited with the father, and he wanted to get his son to come back home and to, have a relationship with the family once again. And so I counseled with him, and then I counseled with the son, and I counseled with him, and I counseled with the son, and ultimately I was able to get the son to come back home and come to a party that his parents had. And afterward, the father came to me, and this was something that kind of caught me off guard because it was outside of my culture. He knelt down before me, nose to the ground at my feet, to thank me so much for the fact that I had been able to bring about this healing, that the role I had played had done this thing for him, which had so lifted the burden from his heart and made him feel so good that his son was now interacting with him again. Now, of course, in real life, that doesn't mean that there weren't a lot of thorny things ahead, or that it was just instantaneous and there was a lot more work to be done. But what really amazed me was how overpowering the experience of being reconciled, of feeling at ease, how overpowering that experience was to that father. And probably more so than to the son. The son appreciated the fact that he could come back home. But for the Father, it was really amazing. Well, so we have the story of the alienation in the Bible. We talk about the story of Adam and Eve and them making a mistake, turning their back on God. Some people take it literally, some people take it figuratively. But I do believe that there's a great lesson that it teaches, whichever way we take it. And whether Adam and Eve actually existed and whether they were actually the single, the breeding pair that started all of humanity, the experience they went through is an experience that we tend to go through. And that is that we place ourselves in situations that we become at odds with someone else, and they became at odds with God. And the argument that I would put forward was that the change was always in them, it wasn't in God. God I view as the divine constant. God is always what God is. And I perceive God to be a loving, caring, fatherly individual or motherly individual, as the case may need to be, because we need all kinds of support. And so Jesus talked about how he would have gathered the people together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but the people weren't willing to do it. And so in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve run from God after they've sinned, after they've turned their back on God. And sin, I think, is probably not the best word for us to use, but when they've done something now that they feel has alienated them, when they feel guilty, when they feel separated, they run from God because they actually, in this temptation scenario that's presented, they were said, if you will eat this, you will be like God, and you'll know the difference between good and evil. And they think, wow, that's pretty good, to be like God. And so they try this, and then they feel alienated from God, and when God comes, they run from him. And I would argue that humans have tended to run from God throughout history. And so with the Christmas story, we have God coming to people, to human beings, in a form that human beings could understand because he's one of us. And so I find a great beauty in that story of God making himself vulnerable, as it were, and coming in human form that he could act it out for us. The last time I was here, I preached about the Ten Commandments, and I talked about, the beauty of the Ten Commandments. Well, I believe they were given by God, but those are just words, okay? But we can understand a lot better what God is all about if we can see it in action. Most of us are more visual, than we are auditory. And so we could look at Jesus, and the fact that he came as a baby, the most vulnerable. He says, I'm going to put myself in your hands completely, 100%, because babies are 100% dependent. And I'm going to grow up among you so that you will know that I know. I don't believe God learned anything by Jesus coming to this earth. God already knew it, but we needed to know that God knew it. And very often in human relationships, we may know something, but the reason the alienation still exists is that we haven't conveyed to the other person that we know it, so that they know that we know it. And so Jesus made it clear that God knew what we were like because he came, he faced hardship, he sweated, he had pain, he went through the whole thing. And that was, I believe, the gift of God in Jesus. And so there are gifts that are given at Christmas time. And I believe the prime thing is that God gave the gift of Jesus. And again, I'm speaking purely as a Christian. I'm not trying to tell you this is the way it is. This is my cosmology, as it were, my worldview. That's how I see it, that God gave the gift in Jesus to humanity so that we would know what God was really like. And that there was no reason to run from God. There's no reason to be afraid of God. That's what God is like. Well, there are stories that are told then about giving, and so this kind of merges then beyond when we talk about God's gift. Then it goes back into the gifts that were given to Jesus by the Magi, the wise men who came from the east, and they gave gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh, and so gift giving has always been associated with Christmas. Now let me just say this. The Jewish philosopher, the working man's philosopher, Erich Hoffer, said that great concepts usually begin as a movement, and then they become a business, and then they become a racket. Okay? And the coming of Jesus as a baby, the Bethlehem story that was sung about, the coming of Jesus as a baby starts out as this great concept, and it moves on to become a movement, the whole Christian movement, which kind of sweeps the world, at least a major section of the world as it existed at that time. And then it becomes a business. I've been a purveyor of that business. I've been employed by that business, by religion. And of course the real danger is that it becomes a racket. And Christmas is very much in danger of that. It has already, in many respects, become a racket, so commercialized. No longer are we really looking at the significance of all this. It's just that, hey, here's a way to make money. And also, if I'm going to keep up with the next door neighbor, I've got to buy better gifts for my kids. And we sort of lose sight of what this whole thing is about. We went from being a movement to a business to a racket. But the idea of giving, there's a story that I really love called The Gift of the Magi. And most of you have come across this story. You might have encountered it in middle school, in your literature class. It might have been high school. It might have been college. And if you didn't encounter it, I can give you the name of a good lawyer who can file suit on your charge for dereliction of duty from the teachers that you had back then. Because it really is an interesting story. But it's written by O. Henry. And he tells about a young couple whose names were Jim and Della Young. And Jim's full name, and he was a proud person. He really, he had high ambitions. He had high hopes for himself. His full name was James Dillingham Young. And on the mailbox in their apartment, it was James Dillingham Young, Mr. James Dillingham Young. The only problem was that life didn't go as well for them as they had hoped it would. And when he first married Della, he was earning $30 a week, and that was a nice, handsome amount. And then things went bad, and he got dropped down to $20 a week, and rents went up, and the rent was taking almost all of the money, and she was pinching pennies. And life was complicated for them, and it wasn't anything like they had envisioned that it would be. And Christmas was coming, and she wanted to give him a gift, and she'd been saving money all year. If she was buying some vegetables and she could get just a little bit cheaper vegetables, she might save a penny or two. And finally, by Christmas Eve, she had come down to $1.87. And 60 cents of that was in pennies. And she thought, well, I can't get much, but I'll get something for him. Well, the couple had two things that really made them very proud. One was that Jim had a watch that had been his father's watch, and it had been his grandfather's watch before that. And he was very proud of it. It was a beautiful gold watch, something that was far beyond the kind of thing that somebody at their economic level would have normally had, and he was very proud of it. The only problem was that a watch of that kind deserved to have a watch chain. The old three-piece suit times, and the idea of a chain coming down, and you could pull the watch out of your pocket, your vest pocket with the chain, but he couldn't afford a chain. And Della had beautiful hair all the way down to her waist, just an amazing head of hair. And that was her crowning beauty, and everybody commented on her hair, and they really, really loved the hair. And And so here she is now at Christmas time, and she wants to give her husband a gift, and she's got $1.87. And she looks at it, and it makes her cry. He's worth more than a gift of $1.87. And so she makes up her mind, and she goes down to a place where, back in those days when they made wigs, they made them out of human hair. And the longer the human hair, the better wig that could be made. And she had really long hair, and so she goes into the person there who's doing the hair cutting, and she says, "What would you pay me for my hair?" And the woman looks at it and kind of picks it up to see how heavy it is, and says, "I'll give you $20 for it. $20 for the hair." And she says, "Okay, cut it off." And so the woman cut it off, and she went out. And she scoured the town until she found the perfect chain for Jim's watch. And, when you get old, you kind of get teary when you tell stories, It's a function of age. I used to despise men who did that, Such wimps, such wimps. Anyway, she goes out and finds the watch, and she says, "How much will it cost?" And or the watch chain. And they said it'll cost $21. That left her 87 cents then, but she had the gift that she really wanted to give Jim. And so she goes back home, and she, wants to look good for him, but she doesn't have that hair, which is her crowning glory. And so she gets out the old hot iron, the curling iron, and she tries to curl it, so it's very, very emotional for her because she wants to look good and doesn't want to startle him too much when he walks in. Well, he walks through the door, and he looks at her, and she's not sure how he's going to react, and he just has this expression on his face that she cannot read at all. It's not anger. It's not fear, it's not joy, it's not surprise, it's just an expression that she can't read at all. And so she says to him, please, let me know what you're thinking. And so he said, okay. And he reaches in his pocket and he takes out a package and he lays it down. And when they had been out shopping, they had seen in the store window these beautiful tortoiseshell combs that people would use to put their hair in place. And she had expressed her desire for those, but they were way out of her, way out of her league. And here is the gift now that he has given her, these tortoiseshell combs that she really, really wants. And she's just stunned, and, but I've cut my hair, and anyway, so she's not quite sure what to do, and so she goes and gets her package of this beautiful watch chain, and she hands it to him, and he opens it, and he says, "I had to sell the watch to buy the combs." Anyway, both of them gave gifts that were as significant as would be possible to give. And O. Henry called it the gift of the Magi, and he concludes it by saying this: "The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the baby in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat, who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures in their house. But in the last word to the wise men of these days, let it be said that all who give gifts, of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest." of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are the wisest. Everywhere, they are the wisest. They are the Magi. And so, I think that the essence of Christmas is the idea of gift giving, not necessarily the gifts that we give to each other or how much we spend, but the fact that God gave a gift of Jesus to demonstrate to us what God was really like, that we need not be afraid of him, and that we might know that we could approach God without fear, without concern. God is not the harsh taskmaster that many have portrayed him to be. And for those who don't believe in God, and there's no condemnation from me for those who do not believe in God, there still is, I believe, the belief that we need to behave in our relationship to each other as if we were doing it before a God who was all-knowing, but all-loving and all-caring and so on. That's still the kind of people we need to be. Khalil Gibran, in his book, The Prophet, wrote a poem on giving. He wrote about 27 poems, I think, in The Prophet. And actually, it's the 100th anniversary of the publication of that little book. And so if you haven't read it, you can find it online. You don't even have to buy it. But it's well worth reading. Khalil Gibran, who was a Lebanese philosopher and poet. And he said this: "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give." And so to me, the whole thing about Christmas is that deep kind of giving, that giving of self. And whether I believe in the Christmas story or whether I don't believe in the Christmas story, I believe in the kind of deep giving that we need to have. That giving of self, where we make ourselves vulnerable, where we go beyond the call of duty, where we make it clear by our actions, because actions speak louder than words, that we do love and that we do care and that we do want the best for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. At this time, we will extinguish the chalice. Join me in saying the words. As we are together again. Now we have closing music. Last night I had the strangest dream. We've got Sarah and Lindsay singing with Larry playing guitar.
Pastor Coffin, we chose this song when your original topic was going to be more. However, it still fits with what you talked about today. This song was written by Ed McCurdy in 1950 during the Korean War and was originally sung by Pete Seeger. Last night I had the strangest dream I've ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a mighty room, leaders from every land, and the papers they were signing said they'd never fight again.
Lovely. So now for the closing words, they come from Adam Newman. If you're open-minded and you let the universe come in, you never know where things might go. So I encourage us all to be open to inspiration, not just from today's service, but all throughout our day and in every area of our lives. Thank you so much for being here today. Please stay and enjoy some coffee and conversation. We do have a postlude music, so you can enjoy some of that. Yes, which will be Marilyn singing and Larry on guitar again. Yeah? Sorry, what? Oh, Caitlin's not singing, despite what that says.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. Next year, all our troubles will be miles away. Here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us will be near to us once more. Someday soon we all will be together if the fates allow. Until then, we'll have to muddle through somehow. So have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us will be near to us once more. Someday soon we all will be together if the fates allow. Until then, we'll